Well, what's up, guys? Chief here with another video where we learn how to play Starcraft 2. That's right, you guessed it. We're here with another video with Zerg, and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of overlooked and not really considered that I see in most times from the newer Zergs or people that are just not aware of how effective it can be, and that's building placement. Now, what do you mean by that, Chief? We have like 4 buildings, right? But the very simple fact is that the very few buildings you have, if you position them in intelligent spots, they can make a really, really big difference in Zerg versus Zerg. And before we get into this video, I just wanted to say thanks for all of the people that are out there supporting me and following me and giving me good feedback or bad feedback, any feedback really. Thanks a lot. And I thought that this shirt represented our friendship. There it is. As we can see. Now, clearly I would be SpongeBob. I mean, that's just obvious, right? But you guys can imagine yourself, if you want, as Patrick in this scenario here. And that's pretty clear there that this represents my love for you guys. So thanks a lot. Had to show you guys that. All right. Let's get into the good stuff, huh? Oh, gotta get resituated. Okay. Perfect. To the game. Building placement. What the hell does building placement matter? Now, if you guys have been playing ladder, you know that we're talking about specifically Zerg versus Zerg here. Why are we talking about Zerg versus Zerg? Because Zerg versus Zerg gets on this weird posture in the early game where you end up fighting each other with lings a bunch. It can happen. Sometimes you avoid that stage of the game. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Yada, yada, yada. There ends up being a time where you'll start having massive ling fights and ling run-bys and ling interactions. And generally what happens is one person gets kind of designated as the attacker and one person gets designated as the defender in that situation, and it kind of goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. One thing that can really help when you're defending against a ling flood is where your buildings are placed, and I will show you a really nice example of that. Now, I was playing this guy on the ladder, and I didn't play the greatest. My game, I made a lot of mistakes, as I usually do, but this building placement that he did blew me away. Okay, this is a good example. Before I saw this game, I really didn't think of building placement as Zerg. I mean, you think about Protoss or you think about Terran, and you're always kind of considering building placement, right? You want to place your buildings in a good spot and place your pylons in a good spot, stuff like that. But I never really thought about it that much as Zerg, unless we're talking about spine crawlers, right? Spore crawlers, stuff like that. But let's look at the just the simple thing of the spawning pool placement. Now, a lot of people place your spawning pool back here. That's fine. It's out of the way. If something comes in here, they're going to have to go through a whole bunch of shit to get to your spawning pool, which is important, right? Now, let's look at where he places his. Right here. Now, as you notice, there's a little gap underneath, so his extractor, I'm guessing, will go down very soon. Let's get to that point. Extractor, don't call me a liar. There it is. So there's a narrow gap between his extractor and his pool, and a gap here. So this is not there. It seems vulnerable, right? Because it gets surrounded by lings. That's the problem with early game. What you're trying to avoid is getting things surrounded. Like your queens are actually extremely strong against lings in a defense if they can prevent a surround. If you can funnel them in like 2 or 3 at a time, one at a time to fight your queens, do a hold position on the ramp with a couple queens, is a really common thing that I'm sure a lot of you guys have either seen or done to hold off those super fast ling floods that a lot of players like to do. Because, of course, if you end up defending that ling flood, you're in a really good spot because all of those lings that he made are not drones. Those larvae are not drones, and that's the important thing. So as you notice, we're pretty similar in our openings here. He's a little behind on his pool. It doesn't even matter, and you're going to see what happens. I'll just go through the rest of it. I've talked enough about how awesome Mr. Schmang is with his building placement. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Getting some queens. Excellent, like you do. Getting some queens. Now, what am I up to? I am making a lot of early Zerglings. We've got 10 early Zerglings. And if we look on the unit counter, he's already ahead in 5 drones. So I've traded these 5 drones for 10 Zerglings. Right? So he's a little ahead already. I got my queen out earlier. Yada yada. There's minor differences. We're not going to talk about that as much. What we're going to talk about is what happens next. Now, here we go. Let's follow these units. Whee! Skitter, skitter, skitter. Okay, now, this looks really bad for this guy, right? We have 18 lings for blue, our hero blue, which is me. Yes! And we have 6 Zerglings for our stupid red player. He's not stupid, I'm just kidding. 2 spines coming up. So our goal here, there's also 2 queens. 2 queens. It's pretty close. If we can get us around here, maybe take out this spine before it finishes, maybe get a wrap on this queen, then we can take out some drones. I mean, this is kind of what I'm thinking in this situation, right? We could go kill this off. Not all that interested in doing that, but I don't really want to talk about decision making. I just want you guys to watch how this fight plays out. So, notice what he's doing with his queens. And this is because of building placement. He's got them sitting here with no surface area. The only surface area that you can attack this queen, if we look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this queen is pretty vulnerable. 5 lings attacking it, and you'll see it goes down pretty quick, but still lives quite a while. Okay, now he finally backed it up. Now look at this. I was back here, I took out that spine, great. Still looking really good for me, right? Still looking pretty close, like it could still go either way. Now, there's 2 lings attacking at once, and I can't even, like, get at it from this angle, and the other queen's just killing me, and it's, like, impossible. Like, what is that? Some major BS, right? Some major BS is what that is. No, that is actually just really, really, really good reactions and really good building placement by this red Zerg. I just want to look at that fight one more time. And I won't pause it, and I'll stop talking so you guys can actually see the whole fight. Now, as I mentioned, perhaps I could have played better. I could have maybe took out this expansion. That would have been more advantageous. Whether or not that's true, I want you guys to pay attention to this fight. Watch the queens. So he made a little bit of a blunder. He could have done that sooner. But it doesn't even matter. Look at that. Hilarious. Hilarious, 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 hilarious. So good. So good. And that's all because of this spawning pool. All because of the spawning pool. Try to imagine this situation, the same fight, with the queens maybe being like hanging out, like if we look back where my queens are at, my queen's hanging out here, kind of thing, where the queens are really not in a defense-oriented position. I mean, if we look at this fight, these Zerglings easily going to take out these 2 queens if they're just, like, hanging out. They have no energy for transfuse. It's going to be a bad time. But since they're in this nice little position, created an artificial choke point, and they deal with the lings no problem. No problem. Okay, so, building placement. That's great. Now, I just want to go through kind of a speed run through the rest of this video to show you guys, or just up to the next little brief point, and that's what he does with his building placement at his natural. And now you guys don't need to think about this and like copy what he's doing or copy anybody, but just think about the very limited buildings you have. You should try to put them in good locations. Good locations. So, let's look at this setup now. He's got a spire coming up. He's got a baneling nest. Your pretty standard Zergy looking things in the mid game for Zerg versus Zerg. Now, he's got a wall created here. I think you can actually sneak some links. Let's get these overlords out of the way. Get out of here. I think this is actually a big enough gap, so maybe that was a mistake by him, but you get the idea. He's created a wall, or tried to, right here. There's a spine behind it that has coverage of this area. There's another spine here that also creates another little nice funnely choke point and has coverage of this area. Now, if maybe he gets a roach warren or something like that, I would put it maybe here to prevent just a wrap this way and around. But either way, he's got some nice creep spread going. He's taking his third. Pretty intelligent things. If we look back at home, this is another example. I'm trying to create a little wall also. Mine is not nearly as eloquent as his, but I'm trying to make something, some kind of a defense with my buildings, and that is really, really nice against Ling Baneling, especially, right? That's really why you're doing this in Zerg vs. Zerg, is because if the Ling Bane comes in and they, you know, roll in with like 5 or 6 Banelings, which they can get pretty early, to do kind of a finishing blow, if you can hold by putting 2 queens here or putting some roaches here on hold position, the Banelings are going to explode and your buildings are going to take a bunch of that damage. So even if some of these units die that are hold positioned here, you're going to have the buildings also, which can take a lot of hits. I mean, 750, a Baneling does, I don't even know, 25 to light, or 25 to not light, rather. Where are they? Damage 22, and that's with 1 weapon upgrade. So, I mean, they're not doing that much damage. I don't even know. Buildings might be. I kind of doubt that they're light. I really doubt that. But either way, they're not going to take down these buildings very quickly. They're going to need to make a lot of Banelings, right? Coffee. Yummy. Delicious. And the last thing I want to talk about is, 4 drones. That's a new meta right there. 4 drones in the extractor, Chief. Excellent. Excellent play. What I want to talk about, hopefully I correct that. Nope, doesn't look like I do. Anyway, is this spore crawler. Now, I do this, and I wish if I selected it, it showed you the range of coverage, but the reason you'd put your spore crawler here is because the coverage hits all of your drones. So they can't, maybe some of you conventionally will put your spore crawler here because your thought is, okay, I don't want to block my drones from mining. The fact is that the efficiency that you gain by putting it here is so much that it doesn't matter, because it can cover if they're shooting your drones on gas, if they're anywhere behind your mineral line, or even in about to here. This spore has range, and it also has detection for all those areas. Now, they'll do kind of the cheeky thing where they'll sit here with air units and shoot your extractor or shoot some drones. It's impossible really to get the best coverage with one. But I mean, your coverage looks something like that, probably. Roughly your area of coverage from that spore. So that to me is the best place to put a spore crawler. And I like to do that about 6 to 7 minutes if I'm not sure that my opponent is not going air, is not going DTs, is not doing something like that. If I cannot confirm that, I do it every game, because the chances are, if they are trying that, it's going to save me, or I would just die otherwise. So I do that personally. Another great thing, I'm not sure if I do it, I don't think I do it in this because it's Zerg versus Zerg, but if you put another spine behind it, especially against Terran, that's going to help cover you against a lot of things, like a drop. If they want to drop in and their units trickle in one by one, that spine can start working on them while the spore shoots the medevac. A lot of players will maybe drop over here, so it doesn't matter. Zealot warp-ins, this spine back here will help a lot, because they'll come in here, they'll hit on your drones, use their pickup lines on the drones, right? They're gonna hit on your drones, but then the spine's gonna hit them, hit them back, and they'll try to like charge or go through, and the AI is like weird going through the mineral lines. And that's an advantage, I guess, but not really that big of a deal. Just more coverage again. You're trying to protect your drones. So that's what I would suggest. And again, guys, just think about your building placement and look at how damn sexy that was. Remember that fight. So sexual. Oh. Best example. I don't think I'm ever going to find a better example on that for Zerg vs. Zerg. So that's it, guys. Clickety-clack. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Tomorrow, I think we're going to talk about scouting out and reacting to Zerg vs. Zerg or Zerg vs. Protoss. I'm not really sure which one yet. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, what you think about it. Leave some comments below. Thanks, guys. Check me out, twitch.tv/ChiefLiveGaming. Other social media stuff down here. Otherwise, guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Bye now.